Okay, well, welcome everyone. For those of you whom I've not had the opportunity to meet, my name is Kristin Kaufman. Happy 2022. I don't know about you, but I'm really ready for a new year. So I'm thrilled that we're starting off the year together. Hopefully, wherever you are, it's as pretty as it is where I am here in Dallas. It's an absolutely magnificent winter day, and I'm delighted to be with you. So you're at the right place at the right time. If you maybe needed a little bit of a jump start for 2022, because I don't know about you, I had this wonderful list of resolutions. One of them was to do dry January, which lasted literally 10 days. And I fell off the wagon partly because I have some sort of an allergy and I needed a hot toddy the other night. So I'm blaming it on having some allergies or cedar fever, whatever we call it here in Texas. But regardless, you're at the right place at the right time. If maybe you needed a little bit of a jump start, or what I like to call a B12 shot on how to make 2022 a different year perhaps than your 2021 was. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's see if I can get my slideshow here to go. Why this, why now? So in a nutshell, I really feel like that, especially coming out of COVID the last couple of years, I think it's time to turn the page. And, we have to get on with our lives and our careers, especially if we had a little bit of a snaggle over the last 24 to 48 months. And we might feel like we need to make up for lost time. I know I do. And so this is a very autobiographical in some ways webinar, because everything that I'm going to share with you is something that I have researched over the last 25, almost 30 years. And I've tried to condense it down into what I think are probably the 10 most salient things that can help us to make a shift in the new year. So let's do it. So what I know for sure to start off this entire conversation today is that if we don't make the first steps, then nothing will ever happen. I know that for sure. And, my mama taught me that, the longer we procrastinate, reality will happen to us. And so if we want to make a change, we have to take the reins. So today, here's what we're going to talk about: the 10 unexpected steps that we can take right now to make 2022 different. Some of them may sound familiar to you and some of them may not. Regardless, they're the ones that I think are the most salient and that can help make the difference. Some are easy. Super easy, like pretty easy. Others are pretty provocative and may need us to take a deeper dive on how we can actually get traction around them. And then, of course, I want to end with how can we leverage them? It's one thing to set an intention in place, which all of us do, or most of us do, especially when we're starting a new year. And then it's real easy to kind of backslide or get on a slippery slope about keeping those things relevant and salient to how we want our year to unfold. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too. All right. So starting off, I will echo again what my mama taught me my entire life, especially when I felt like I was in a place that looked unfamiliar or felt unfamiliar. She would say to me, every single thing that you've experienced, the good, the bad, and the ugly, has been preparing you for what is to come. So I do believe that we are exactly where we're supposed to be and that we are here for a reason. And our job is to figure out what that reason is and how we can really capitalize on what we've learned and what's brought us to where we are today. So let's get started. And you might want to take out a pen or a piece of paper, because I kind of err on what I'm going to call visual slides as opposed to slides with a lot of points on them. I am recording this, so if you do want a recording, you can let me know at the end and I'm more than happy to send it to you. So the first step that I really think can help shift us, especially when we're starting off on a new year, is to revisit what I call the 80-20 rule with the new slant. And many of you all, especially if you come from corporate, and for those of you who are not familiar with who I am what I call a recovering corporate executive. After 30 years in the technology industry primarily, and then in healthcare for several years, I embarked upon my entrepreneurial journey, which is what I'm doing now, about 16 years ago. And so that's kind of my background. And in technology, Google was the one who actually made this 80-20 rule famous. They talked about how every person in the company of Google, they encouraged to invest a minimum of 20% of their time improving something in their life, their skills. And they were really focused more on skills that were not in their traditional wheelhouse. So for example, if you're a software developer, they weren't saying go get better at software, go do a skill or a class or some sort of a training to get you better at being a software developer. It was more about spending 20% of your time developing a skill that will expand your horizons. So it could be learning how to play the piano. It could be learning how to make a souffle. It could be learning how to crochet. I'm making this up on the fly. But for me, for example, and you might want to start off easy, maybe it could be as easy as you saying every month I'm going to read a new book, and I'm going to make the book be something that is not in my traditional career path. So it could be reading about spiritual things or feng shui or Mandarin Chinese or, how to cook Indian food. I'm totally making this up. But the reason why this 80-20 rule is so relevant and how it can really help shift your perspective is it gets you out of your rut of your day-to-day on that hamster wheel, focused on that one thing that you're really great at. It forces us to expand our horizons. And I'm convinced, because I've done this for years now, it's amazing what you uncover about yourself and how whatever it is that you tap into is really sort of a passion or an interest of yours, and how it can actually be transferable into what is your main thing. Because, as Stephen Covey says, you want to make the main thing the main thing. And I totally get that. But this is all about sharpening your saw outside of what your saw is traditionally sawing, if that metaphor made sense. Hopefully it did. So that is the first thing. And, I'll give you a personal example for me that I did about 15 years ago, maybe it could have been even 17 years ago. I was interested in Reiki. I was very interested in the energy work of Reiki. It had absolutely nothing to do with what my career path was, what I'd been doing my whole life, nothing. And I became a Reiki master. I went to class, I went to certification school, I studied, and I became a Reiki master. Now, did I immediately start practicing Reiki on clients? No. But did it come in handy when I need to do energy work on myself? And perhaps if I need to reflect when I'm working with clients? Absolutely, yes. So that is an example. And my call to action for you on this one, follow what your heart says that you want to do. It can be anything. Do not judge yourself and do not analyze this. Just go for it. Okay. So that's the first step, because I can promise you, when you put yourself at the top of the list and it's above and beyond the career path, you'll be amazed at what you're going to learn about yourself. Okay. That's step one. All right. Step two, be a hard act to follow. Now, this is something I'm looking down at my notes because I made some notes and I want to make sure that I cover all of this. Now, when I talk about being a hard act to follow, I'm not talking about necessarily being the smartest person in the room, because you and I both know, especially if you've been in corporate or small business or any sort of professional career, the smartest people in the room are not always the most successful, nor are they always the most fulfilled. Okay? The people that are the hard act to follow are the people that have condensed what makes them different into a value to the people that they're serving. And they also have surrounded themselves with people, a network of people. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But that combination of the network of people and what makes them different, they've condensed that down into this amazing set of qualities, skills, talents, and gifts that they bring to the people that they're serving. And I can tell you, I have met a number of people in my career, and I'm sure y'all have too, that are not necessarily the smartest people in the room. And yet, for some reason, they become as indispensable as possible. And you and I both know not anyone's indispensable, but they become indisputable in their field. They have a brand or a reputation that precedes them. And it's not necessarily because of one thing that they do, it's because of the combination of things that they do. And there's that wonderful movie, Gypsy. Y'all have probably seen it, where there's a song in it called "You Gotta Have a Gimmick." I think Bette Midler may have sung it in the last rendition of the movie Gypsy. But that gimmick, and I'm not talking about a shticky gimmick. I'm talking about a gimmick meaning that unique combination of what you bring to the table. And it could be anything from your background, the combination of the jobs that you've held. I coach my people to zigzag in their careers, because when you zigzag in your careers, meaning you hop, skip, and jump around a company, you accumulate a very diverse and a very unique viewpoint on your industry and how you can add value to the company or the organization in which you work, or just to the people that you're serving. So becoming that hard act to follow is that magic intersection of multiple angles coming together that combine and make you. And, I can tell you again, just as a personal example, I remember starting out, many of y'all have heard me use this example before, where I had someone years and years ago tell me to lose my Southern accent, to lose my euphemisms, lose all of the metaphors that I use, because it was distracting and it wasn't professional. And I got all wigged out about it. And I remember going to a mentor and a friend of mine at the time. His name was Manuel. And there are people on here, I think there are a few that know me from my prior life. You'll recognize the name. And I remember going to him and saying, I guess I need to limit my euphemisms and my Kristinisms as they became known, and my accent. And he's like, don't do that. That's what makes you different. That makes you a hard act to follow, because you have distinguished yourself, not because I'm smarter than anybody else, but because I am true to my authenticity. Okay. So that is step 2. Do not try to become like everybody else. You don't want to be homogenous, right? You want to be unique, become a hard act to follow. So I work with my clients to figure out, what is it that makes you unique? And let's emphasize that, and let's leverage that. Okay. And you couple that, by the way, with that wonderful network that you build over time. Okay. That's step number 2. All right. Step number 3. And this is all about, that network. We have to evaluate your posse. And in fact, we have to rebuild. Okay. My mom used to tell my sister Gretchen and I, you are the company you keep. And we were groomed with that philosophy since we were little girls. And I can tell you right now, it has never become more important than in the career in my professional world, because I want the people that I surround myself with to help me be the best I can be. So they're not yes people, right? Yes, I have supportive people and encouraging people and motivating people and inspiring people, but I also have people that hold me accountable, that tell me that, my first draft of the book was not good, or that, I'm not adding enough value in the way in which I'm presenting my materials, or whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish. So the name of the game is to evaluate who your posse is. And of course, when I work with my clients, I talk about building your own personal board of directors, and not to overthink it, but your personal board of directors is just a little microcosm of your giant network that you're hopefully building. But you want that personal board of directors, and listen to me here. It is not the people that are the most successful in your field. And it's not the people that have tracked this serial or this linear, track to success. You want those people to be people that are going to challenge you. So for example, have somebody on your personal board of directors that's flying at 50,000 feet, that is giving you a global perspective of what it is you're trying to accomplish. And by the way, is familiar enough with your life that they can help you see where potentially you might go next. You also may want somebody who has what I'm going to call operating efficiencies. They can help you become really good at what you do. I mean, believe me, that is a weakness of mine, and we're going to talk about this in another step. But I needed to really augment my posse with people that could do the back office stuff, because honestly, after being in technology for 25 years, and those of y'all who know me know that that's really not my sweet spot. I mean, yes, I can navigate, but it is not where I excel. It's just not my forte. So I have a computer person. I've got somebody who helps me build out materials online. I've got a whole posse of people that helps me, right? And I also have a person on my personal board of directors that's coaching me on, okay, how do I take this into the new world of social media and digital commerce, for example? Okay. So think about who is on your posse or in your posse. Who are the people that are in your inner circle that are helping you or not become the best you can be? And if they've drug you down, or if you have moved into a new arena and they're not serving you, then we have a sacred responsibility to ourselves not to unfriend them and not to become, distant from them, but just to augment them, or in fact, replace them in your personal board of directors. And I can tell you, it's probably one of the singular most important things that I've ever done is to reevaluate that every year professionally. Professionally, I'm speaking about, to help me become the best I can be, because the needs I had in 2020 are definitely not the needs that I have now in 2022. Okay, so that's step number 3. And I have a gajillion and one processes that I can help you if you're interested in helping you do that. But regardless, that is definitely a step that needs to be taken. Okay, step number 4. You got to get into the flow. Okay, and this is not what you think. In fact, I was on a call yesterday with a client, and we were talking about flow. And I think people think that when you get into flow, oh, we just, merrily, life is but a dream. We're just floating on a on a stream. And I will tell you, that's not what it is. Okay. Flow is about having challenge, but feeling like you're definitely going in the right direction. It's about feeling a stretch, a stretch and grow moment, but yet you're not fighting the rapids, right? You're, to use a metaphor. In my world, I look at flow as being in alignment. And alignment, that's what I named my company. It's when you love what you do, you're good at it, but most importantly, it's tied to something bigger than yourself. And I will tell you right now, the part that I see missing most of the time with people is they think that once they've identified that, it's that forever. And it's simply not. We evolve and change every single day of our lives. And we're going to talk about that in a second too. So if you think that what you decided you wanted to do when you got out of college or your first job, it may have changed, it may be the same. It may be the same, but it may be that you want to be doing it somewhere else. But the combination is loving what you do, being good at it, most importantly, having it tied to something bigger than you. Because if you don't have it tied to something bigger than you, you're probably going to burn out. I call that the renewable energy source. For example, one of the clients I was speaking with earlier this week has a real passion, for example, about animals and being kind to animals and helping animals have the best, life and experience that they can have. Okay. Now, how do you quantify that and how do you build a career out of that, especially if you don't want to be a veterinarian and you don't want to go into nonprofit work? Well, there are lots of ways to make that happen. There are 1,000,001 gajillion-dollar companies that are doing nothing but manufacturing products to serve the animal kingdom. Okay. So if your skill set is in finance or in operations or in project management, you could easily tie that horizontal skill set, because it's what you love to do and you're good at, but tying it to something that gives you that passion, it feeds you. Okay. That is an example of being in flow. You're being in flow with what it is and how it is that you want to show up and how you want to contribute. And it definitely does change. I was in flow and in alignment when I was working with Hewlett Packard, and after in software, I loved what I did. And then one day I didn't. One day I just lost the plot. It was no longer fulfilling to me, partly because the industry has changed and partly because I had changed. So my job was to look within and figure out, well, what is it that makes me tick now? Okay. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about being in flow. And that's not an easy step to take, but it is a vital and a necessary step to take. Okay. Step number 5, be ruthless with your priorities. Okay. Now, we've started a new year. So everybody's got, what I'm going to call the good old New Year's resolutions, which I've already mentioned. I've sort of already blown a couple of mine already. And that's okay. That is okay, by the way. Do not beat yourself up on that. But here's what I know. None of us can be good at everything. None of us can be good at everything. So I'm looking down because I actually watched a podcast and really studied this professor last year. Basically, I was at our lake house and I dove deep into this woman. Her name is Frances Fry. If you're interested, again, put it in the chat box and I'll shoot you this link. But her last name is spelled Frei. And she's a Harvard professor. And she talks about, how we can separate the winners from the losers, basically, in business. Now, I'm not that binary because I don't really think that there are losers in anything. I think that everybody has a place and a purpose, and our job is to obviously optimize that potential. but her point was so salient. And I want you to hear the words. I'm going to read them verbatim because the quote is so good. Again, this is from Frances Frei, F-R-E-I. Choosing to be bad at something. Now listen to this. Choosing to be bad at something is your only shot at achieving greatness. And resisting it is a recipe for mediocrity. Okay, that just like hit me cold, because it was just a boom moment. Because I've always thought, I could be a great athlete, so I'll try to be great at everything. But you and I both know the people that really excel are the ones that hone in on a specific area of focus. They are ruthless with their priorities. Look at any gymnast that you want to study in the Olympics. They all are great at least one thing, and some of them are greater than more than one thing, but they focus on one thing. It could be the balance beam, or it could be the parallel bars. I'm having a hard time talking today. So being ruthless with where you want to focus is really important. And I'll quote another person, Sam Altman. You can look him up if you're interested. He says, he has a wonderful quote. He says, focus is a force multiplier at work. And I think he means, there's a chat. Let me just see what y'all said. I will send the link. Thank you, Linda. I certainly will. You bet. Sam Altman, who is an uber successful entrepreneur, talks about how focus is the force multiplier at work. And he's talking about focus in two ways. Focus in obviously what you're prioritizing to get done, your goals, whatever that is. You can't boil the ocean if you have 10 or 15 goals. And also focus on what it is and how it is you want to contribute. Okay. So that is step number 5. We have to be really ruthless. And sometimes that takes some time. Sometimes you have to go slow so you can go fast. But I think what I would encourage all of us to do, me included, is I'm really trying to narrow my focus on where I'm going to expand my business this year. And I cannot do all of it. So I'm going to take it quarter by quarter, and I'm going to focus in on one thing every quarter, for example. So that is step number 5. Okay, let's see here. Step number 6. Now, this is one of my very favorite concepts that I'm really honing in on in 2022. And this is the magic of compounding. And for those of y'all who are joining us from the finance industry, you'll obviously recognize the magic of compounding. My dad reared my sister on this. And the concept that my sister and I were reared on was that whole concept of the rule of 72. And for those of y'all who are not familiar with the rule of 72, in a nutshell, it's just a simple way of factoring how long an investment will take to double in its value on a fixed rate of return. So for example, if you're earning 4%, I'm just making this up, 4%, you would divide 72 by 4, and that would give you how many years it would take for your money to double. Okay. In a nutshell, that's how we were reared on thinking about compounding. And I want to take it one step further. It's more than just compounding your money. It's about compounding your contribution and your career. And so I want you to write a couple of things down. First of all, when you think about your career, and there's some of y'all who are my age, and there's some of you who are much younger. When you get started young in your career, you have a magical opportunity where you can start building your experience, your network, your connections, your exposure early in your career. And for those of us who are my age, you know how valuable that is, especially if you continue to nurture it. Because as you expand your career and grow older, you can leverage that experience. And I know many of y'all on this call, because I recognized a number of y'all's names, you have that compounded benefits of your life and your career at this stage in your life. Okay. But if you're at this stage in your life and you're starting over again, which by the way, I started over again, at 16, 17 years ago. I still had the ability to take that experience and the network that I had built in my early 20s, 30s, and 40s and compounding it into my new career. So that's the first step. We are a compilation of everything that we are bringing to the table today. And the name of the game is to compound that and to build upon that. Okay. And there are lots of common denominators, as y'all know. Okay. The second point And this is something that I really want y'all to hear me out on, especially if you are over the age of 35 or 40. You know, I believe that our life and our career is a process. I'm looking down because I wrote these words and I want to make sure I use my own words. It's being self-editing and also self-propelling. Okay. You self-edit and you self-propel, meaning you take out the things that are no longer working for you or that you no longer want to focus on because they're not really where you want to be in your next chapter. And you self-propel, meaning you focus on the things that you do want to expand upon. And you think, oh, well, Kristin, that's like two separate things. Here's the magic. They're all tied together by this golden thread, because remember, we're a compilation of everything that we've experienced. So our job is to figure out, how do I take all of this experience, the things that I don't really want to do, but the things that I do want to do, how do I weave that into a value proposition, for overused word, so that I can compound how I show up now? Okay. Think about, and I've jotted down some examples of that, and y'all are going to roll your eyes because I know these are like lofty goals. But think about Oprah Winfrey, for example. She started off as a television journalist in a local market. Okay. She then parlayed herself to be national. And then she got her own talk show. And then she went into acting. And then she went into producing. And then she went into this spiritual growth, and launching her own television series called Soul Sunday. And then she's had a magazine. And then she's written all these books. Okay. All of that is absolutely what I'm talking about. Compounding. She didn't start off doing any of all of that. She started off doing one thing. And that was being a journalist on a local television show. Okay. Think about Jeff Bezos. Think about Elon Musk. Think about Sir Richard Branson. You want to do a deep dive on any of those? They are a magic example of the value of compounding. None of them started off where they are today. And it was not a linear progression. They went all over the map to get where they are. Was there a common denominator and a golden thread weaving it all together? You better believe it. And that's the job. And I'll give you my own personal example. I'm certainly not anywhere near where those folks are, but I will tell you, the chapter that I'm writing for myself now, there is a magic thread that's tying it all together. I write books. I write articles. I do leadership coaching. I do leadership consulting. I do podcasting. I do webinars, right? All tied together with the value alignment, what I love to do, what I'm good at, and tying it to something greater than me. Okay. But we have to figure out what that magic thread is. And that to me is the value of compounding. And I think many of us think we were following some serial ladder. That's obsolete thinking. If you ever thought that way, don't think that way now. That's not it. What's it is finding the magic golden thread that ties everything that you love and that you're good at and how it's tied to how you want to contribute, weaving that together into a value proposition for your career, your life, and to the people that you want to serve. Okay. Are we good? If we're not good, put it in chat. Okay. All right. Step number 7. And this is really geared toward people that are my age and maybe even 10 years younger or 10 years older. We have a responsibility to stay curious. And I'm going to tell you, I had a very interesting conversation with an executive recruiter a couple of weeks ago. And I took this away, and that's why this made the list, because I coach people all the time that are worried that, oh my gosh, I'm long in the tooth. My ship's never going to come in. They're hiring people younger than me. I mean, in COVID, I think the figure is 35 million people have either left their job or have been forced out of their job. 35 million people. And I can promise you they're not all millennials. So you've got people that are in this middle-aged baby boomer bracket, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, my ship's never going to come in. I don't really like what I'm doing anymore. I don't really know what I want to do. Curiosity is the key differentiator for people of a certain age. And I heard this executive recruiter say to me verbatim, I was interviewing somebody, and this person was 62 years old, and she wanted to get back into the workforce. And she was concerned that, she didn't ever say this, but she had told this to the recruiter. She was concerned that, oh my gosh, I'm too old, I'm not relevant, yada, yada. Well, she went into the interview, and because of her interest, her insatiable desire to learn and to be knowledgeable and to be curious about what was facing that organization, what are the trends, where do you find your greatest boost, and where do you find your greatest fear? And she was curious about it. The wrinkles and the age and the extra pounds and all of the things that visibly we worry about at our age went away like that. She got offered the job, and the person that offered her the job told the recruiter it was because she was curious, she was hungry, she had a wealth of experience, plus she was hungry for more. Magical conversation, magical combination. So it erases age. So if indeed you're over 40, 50, 60, maybe even 70, or even if you're a millennial on this webinar, being curious is a unique attribute that frankly many people don't have. So staying curious and hungry just attracts people, especially people that want to hire you, whether it be as an employee or as a consultant. Okay, step 8, reframe your reality. And my clients know that I'm big on this. I'm not going to go into a gajillion examples on this, but I'm just going to say this to you. Things do not happen to us. They just don't. They happen to us for a reason. And the reason 9 times out of 10 is for us to learn something. So anytime some horrible, icky, and I would use profanity, but I don't want that to be on the internet, happens to you or me, the very first question that I want you to think about asking yourself is, I wonder what I'm supposed to be learning from this. Okay. Reframing where we are, wherever that is. If it could be that you're running out of money and you've already retired. It could be that you've retired, you've got plenty of money, but you're not fulfilled anymore. It could be that you're in a job that no longer is filling you up anymore. Whatever it is, the one question that I would encourage you to ask is, what am I to be learning from this? And then a second question that's right below that is, what can I be teaching from this? Because I can promise you, people are watching you. And I remember when I left corporate back when I was, gosh, it's been 17 years ago now. And I remember many people thought I had lost my mind because I was at the top of my game. And I just decided I wanted to jump off the high board. It was not what I wanted to do anymore. It was very risky. I'm a single woman. I've never married. I needed to have a way to provide for myself. I remember my dad rearing me, never leave a job without having another. And of course, I was doing exactly what he told me not to do. And I did it. And here's what I learned. Years later, I had people say to me, we all kind of watched dumbfounded that you were doing that. And now here you are 15, 16 years later, and you've really taught us. Well, at the time, I didn't know I was teaching. Heck, I was teaching myself. And I'm just saying to you, whatever is happening to you, it's happening for you. I have an adage. It's either a whisper or a 2x4. When something's out of balance and you're out of alignment, one of those 3 things, you don't love it anymore, you're not great at it anymore, it's not tied to what you ultimately want to do. There's either a whisper or a 2x4 that's going to come to you. In my case, it was a 2x4 because I'd had whispers for years that I ignored. Wah, 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 wah. And then I had a 2x4 that kind of knocked me silly, and I made the decision to leave. And the rest is kind of what they would say is history. So reframe your reality, whatever it is. Ask yourself, what am I supposed to be learning, or what am I supposed to be teaching? And lean into it. Okay, step number 9. I'm a huge believer in laying a foundation and envisioning where you want to be. And I've done webinars on this in the past. I call it, writing your personal manifesto. Bottom line is, if you don't declare where you want to be, whatever your vision is, and paint the picture, it's going to be really hard for you to manifest it because, if you don't have a picture of where you want to be, and a lot of, what I'm going to call sensate thinkers, if you're Myers-Briggs people, they'll put that into granular form. They'll make it into numbers and goals, and that is totally fine. I'm that way too. However, I want to cast a bigger vision. It's more than just money and where you're working and the hours you're spending. It's about whatever you want your life to be. Career is a piece of it. It is not the only piece. So step number 9 is laying that foundation, right? Writing that personal manifesto. And don't overthink this, guys. This is nothing more than a declaration of what you want in life. And, you know, I'm going to just tell you a story, and I've told this story before. And if you're repeats to my webinars, I'll make this brief. But I want to, for the new people, I want to give you a feeling of what this looks like. When I left corporate, I knew nothing more than corporate wasn't working for me. I didn't know what was going to work for me, and I wasn't really sure what it looked like. My coach told me, suggested to me, encouraged me to write a letter to my mom and dad, who at the time were still living, and to write out what a perfect life would be. Perfect meaning is relative. 1 year in the future, as if I was already there. Okay. So I wrote this letter to my mom and dad, and I got very granular because understand I'd been commuting, I've been traveling the globe. And it started off with things like, oh, dear mom and dad, I can't believe a year ago, you know, I was lost as a goose in a snowstorm. I wasn't really sure where I was going to be. And here I am. I can make coffee in my own coffee machine at home. Now, understand that was a huge thing because I was doing room service for like 7 years, you know, for weeks at a time. I can take a walk in my neighborhood every day with my dog. At the time, I didn't have a dog. Okay. I've surrounded myself with people that are hungry to learn, that are eager for help and advice, that are valuing my perspective, blah, 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 blah. I wanted to write a book. I had all of this in this vision for what I wanted my life to look like. And do you know, when my mom and dad passed away just a few years ago, and I went home to pack up the house, our childhood home, I found this letter in my dad's files. I read that letter, and do you know that every single thing in that letter has come to manifest except for me being on the Oprah Winfrey Show, which it could still happen. But the point is, I painted a picture of where I wanted to go. And I just believe that without having that vision of what it is you want, and don't make it about the company or the, you know, make it about what you want your experience to be. The company will come. The job will come. You know, whatever it is that you're supposed to, will come. This is about your life. The job and the career is just one piece of it. Okay. So that is step number 9. Okay. The last step. And I'm looking at my time because I want to be good. There are 4 magic words and 1 small, easy shift. Get out your pencil. Okay. I listened to Sidney Poitier, who just passed away, as you all know, earlier this week. And I was listening to an interview that he had been given. And I got so tickled because it was exactly what my mom and dad had reared my sister and I with. 3 of the 4 magic words are please and thank you. Please and thank you. I am appalled to this day how many people never say please or thank you. Ever. I mean, I had someone say to me a couple of weeks ago, oh, it's their job. I expect them to do it. Okay, you can expect anyone to do anything, but there's something magical in just recognizing the effort that someone put in and asking them in a gracious way to do something. So please and thank you are 3 words that I think are pretty magical. The 4th word, which again is an entirely different concept, and certainly one that I've done a number of trainings on, is the word and, A-N-D. And is a generative word. I get so frustrated when I hear people give a platitude to someone, or they give a point of view about something. And then after they've done that, they do a semicolon, and then they use the word but. And then they put a comma, and then they give their next perspective. But negates in someone's mind everything that you said before the semicolon, and joins them. It gives people that beautiful way of embracing polarity. For example, I remember 20 some odd years ago, I said to a person that I wanted to write books and I wanted to start my own company. And I wanted to be able to make as much money and be as fulfilled as I was when I first started my career. And this person said to me, well, you can certainly write a book and start your own company, but you will never make as much money as you ever made in corporate America. Well, what do you think I heard? All I heard was that, oh, I could never do it. I'll never make it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All that person could have done was just use the word and to unify those two ideas. Because I can tell you right now, and is a magic word. Anytime I am leading a team, trying to unify someone's polarity in their minds, just inserting the word and erasing the word but from your vocabulary opens doors and windows like you have never seen before. So those are the 4 magic words. Please, thank you, and. Easy peasy in theory. But I'll tell you, you'll be amazed at the traction you'll get, the doors that will open whenever you integrate those 4 words into your vocabulary. And the one small easy shift, and this one's hysterical, y'all are going to laugh out loud when I say it, is just to smile. And I learned that obviously as a young girl, but I'll tell you where I heard it most recently. No, it's literally been since in 2004. The CEO of Estee Lauder in New York City, when I was up there working with Mayor Bloomberg and I was doing a lot of school and education reform work up in New York, we would import guest speakers to address our cohorts of leadership, administrative and educational leadership in New York. And the woman who came in was the CEO of Estee Lauder. And I was expecting some amazing, strategic insight or whatever from her, because she was running, arguably at that time, the largest skincare cosmetic company in the world. Her one tip that she offered that everybody grabbed onto was her religious, she believed it. It was a religious, cornerstone, for the lack of a better word, to the way in which she conducted herself every day when she went into the office at Estee Lauder. She smiled at everyone. And she said, I don't mean like a goober smile, like I'm just blah, 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 I'm smiling. She said, I would make a conscious effort to look people in the eye and say, good morning, or thank you, or, how is your daughter, or how is your weekend, and smile. She said, you will be amazed at the esprit de corps that I was able to create amongst disparate functional groups, people that didn't really like or work with each other, like them or even work with each other. And she said, just the magic little shift of smiling and addressing people with a happy demeanor on your face, she said it changed the entire culture of Estee Lauder. Because as she did it, everyone else did it too. It's really hard not to smile back at somebody, as y'all know. So those are the 4 magic words and the one small easy shift as we enter a new year. All right. So as we close out, my encouragement to you all would be to ask yourself these questions. If any of these are not as you would like for them to be, if you're not as fulfilled as you would like to be, if you are living kind of the life you want, but not totally, if you don't have the seat at the table, but you want one, if you're not waking up every day excited to start the day and to contribute, if you're not really following your passion, and by the way, the passion doesn't have to be your vocation. It can be an adjunct. But whatever it is we're passionate about, we don't get but one of these lives. So we want to grab onto whatever it is we're passionate about. If you might have a seat at the table, but you don't feel like you're being heard, or maybe you're being heard, but you're not being valued. Maybe you're not making as much money as you want, or maybe your team isn't following you and you're doing everything you can, but you're not really sure what's wrong, or you're not writing the legacy. And the older we get, the legacy component becomes so important. We want to have something that lives on beyond us. We want to make a ripple, a contribution. If any of those questions resonate with you, my feeling is we have to make the first step. And any of these 10 things could be your first step, any of them. So my final suggestion is just take one baby step. If all we do is just one baby step, take it today. And, I have an adage in my world, and I started using this back in 2020 when COVID came, just for today, I'm going to do X just for today. It was just way too much for me to think, okay, for the next year, I'm going to do this. It was just way too much, but I could absolutely grab on just for today. I'm going to do X. And then before you know it, the calendar's turned and you say it again, just for today, I'm going to do X. And then before you know it, 365 days later, you've completely shifted your life. Procrastination does delay the inevitable. So if you're getting that whisper or that 2x4 to any of those questions, taking that first step is the first step, right? You don't have to eat the elephant all at one time, right? So I believe it's an intention. I believe you're here for a reason. And so therefore, it's a choice that you've made to be here today to hear these 10 little ideas that I had. It's a direction that we choose. And my mother used to use the word chutzpah, and I'm a big believer that we can absolutely change whatever trajectory we want, whether it be in a business that you have, writing a book, losing 20 pounds, reestablishing a relationship with someone in your life, starting a business, whatever it is, it does take chutzpah. But it's definitely an intention that we set. It's a choice we make, and it's a direction that we point ourselves in. So, do the steps really work? I can tell you right now, as sure as I'm sitting here, absolutely they do. Those 10 ideas or perceptions that I've given you, perspectives that I've given you, absolutely do work. I'm going to share with you just some people that over the years I've worked with. You can read these testimonials if you're interested, to make sure that I'm not just smoking, we're not just smoking something here. These ideas, these perspectives, these shifts that we make one day at a time, absolutely will change your life and your career, and mine too, for that matter. I mean, I'm embracing the same thing that I'm telling y'all about because I'm starting a new year too. And by golly, I want 2022 to be way better than 2021 was, and certainly better than 2020. All of us got kicked in the shins in the last couple of years, thanks to COVID. So now's the time for us to turn the page. So what's next? I would suggest one of two things. Go forth and just do it. Go forth and just do it. You've taken notes. You've got these 10 ideas. Take the reins. Don't wait till this time next year to say, well, yeah, 2022 is another year. Start today. And if you want a partner, I would love to lock arms with you. I do believe that we are better when we work together. I have coaches in my life that are holding me accountable, that are supporting me. I have a posse, a board of directors that are holding me accountable. They're my power partners. They're helping me become the best I can be. And if you feel like you would benefit by having somebody kind of be in your foxhole with you and locking arms with you, I would love nothing more. It'd be so much fun. There are lots of ways that we can do that. I have hybrid courses. One of them is listed below on this particular slide, or you can just reach out to me and we could work together individually, which might be the best thing for you, or maybe you just want to have more of a process or a hybrid program that's already been developed. Either way, what I will tell you is time doesn't wait for anybody. And I have so many friends who have lost loved ones. I'm about to cry because I've been one of those people in the last 2, 3, 4 years. And there is nothing that will shake you up more fervently than to realize that we are here for a finite period of time. There is a sense of mortality. There is a sense of urgency to grab the reins and to build a career, if that's really where you are, or the life, if that's where you are. And it's easy as taking the next step. So hopefully these 10 ideas have given you something to chew on. I tried to be as provocative as I could be without being what I would call ordinary and so goal-oriented. And hopefully they've helped you and given you some food for thought. So with that, you can make a note of my my email address there, and also one of my hybrid courses, which is a 12-week course, which I have people in right now that are loving it because it's a hybrid. It gives you materials and videos online, but you also get one-on-one coaching with me. And it's for a finite period of time, although we can be fluid on that because of COVID and many other things. We're fluid with that. But it gives you, in other words, it's not evergreen. It gives you sort of a bookend approach on how I can help you get to where you want to go. So with that, I would love to open it up for questions. You can send them to chat, and I'll do my very best to answer them for you. Okay, somebody asked me, okay, how do you work as a coach? Okay, so I work as a leadership consultant and coach, and I work with teams and groups. So I work a lot with boards of directors, leadership teams, primarily at the senior level, although I do a lot of work with functional teams as well, and cross-functional teams that need to get into alignment with one another. And I also work with individuals. And the individuals it's on a retainer basis. I recommend no less than 3 months. Typically, my clients have been with me for a couple of years, actually, because they see the value and they are progressing in their career. I have some clients that I've been with through 4 and 5 career shifts, elevating in their profession, which has been so fulfilling for me to watch. And we work on a retainer level. I work with them as frequently as they need. Typically, it's one meeting a week, but I have others that want to just meet twice a month. But the bottom line is it's on a retainer level, so it's a predictable cost structure, and you can use me as much or as little as you want. On the group or the team, I do group and team coaching as well, and facilitated workshops with them. Oftentimes, the facilitated workshops are really powerful, and then they put into motion the coaching and the consulting that follows, because it's hard sometimes to be episodic in doing facilitated workshops. You really want it to be what I call the gift that keeps on giving. So we might do that, and then we have the coaching both individually and group to follow. So that's typically how my consulting and coaching engagements or retainers work. But I definitely can modify based upon what the client needs or wants. That's kind of my mantra. I don't believe in a cookie cutter approach because I think everybody's different and I think the needs are different. But I do have methodologies, proven methodologies that have worked over the last 16 years. And I just do my best to kind of tweak those in the areas where I think the clients will benefit. Okay, what other questions might we have? Okay, everybody wants the link. I can definitely send that. I've got your emails, so I can send you the links to the 2 podcasts that I referenced early in the webinar. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, well, I'm ending 4 minutes early. So I want to thank y'all so much for being a part of this. I'm praying and hopeful that it added value to you as you start this new year. I'm going to try to do these webinars every 4 to 6 weeks with a different topic. My intention is to always make them free, of course, and I want to add enough value that people take something away. And I would really appreciate hearing from you. If this was too lofty and not meaty enough, I'd like to hear that. And if you felt like that it did have enough meat and you want to dive down deeper on one of these particular components, I'd love to hear that too. Because I really like to do these because I think they add value to the audience and for no other reason than that. So with that, it is a Thursday. We have one more day before the weekend. Make it a great day and a half and have a wonderful weekend as we enter the second half of January already. Hard to believe. And again, I want to thank you so very much for joining today. Make it a great day. And I welcome your feedback. I'll be following up with each of you all with an email so that if you want to reply to it, you can in the privacy of your own home, so to speak. Okay. Thanks so much again for joining. Make it a great day.